All right, we are back with Republican House Leader Eric Cantor, Brian Gardner, Jerry Bowyer, Jared Bernstein, Greg Valliere. Brian, apart from taxes is too easy. I don't want to do taxes. What is your biggest worry that a Democratic sweep would nail in the stock market? What's the biggest potential evil out there?
Well, I think it's the continuing theme of populism that to me, that translates into trade. It's what we've been seeing over the last couple of months with the putting off of the Colombia Free Trade Agreement. I think that continues, probably grows. And at KBW, we specialize in the financials, and so I kind of focus in on that, and I look at mortgage regulation, credit card regulation. That's stuff that has been on the front burner right now. It's probably, a lot of that stuff is going to go into next year, and I think we'll be revisiting those issues next year.
Greg Valliere, you cover this beat pretty carefully. Do you agree?
Yep. Brian's spot on. He's absolutely right.
So what do you sell if you play this game? What do you recommend people get out of?
Big drug stocks. What do you think, Brian? Maybe big energy companies. I mean, there are a lot of easy populist targets that are going to get hit.
I agree. Pharma. I think a lot of the prices are in the financials are reflective of this already. So I don't think there's a great short to be had in financials, but it's something that you got to pay attention to.
You know, it's interesting, Jerry Bowyer, on this subject. I was reading a friend of mine, Stu Sweet, who's in the same game. Cap and trade is probably an idea whose time is coming. I don't happen to like it, but it's coming. But Sweet says, actually, you should buy, listen to this, steel, fertilizer, pulp and paper, cement and aluminum companies, because the government is going to give them huge emission credit handouts to keep them under the tent. So let me read this again. Steel, fertilizer, pulp and paper, cement and aluminum, just to get them under the big tent for the first 5 to 10 years, and then they'll all get slammed. What do you make of that, Jerry? That's kind of a weird spin on this story.
Well, it is, and it's a lot more than I can claim to know. I mean, it seems to be that it's saying we're really going to hammer these industries, but in order to get them on board with the self-immolation, we're going to give them a little credit in the beginning. That's a pretty risky strategy.
It's a special interest subsidy, a.k.a. a bribe. That's what they're going to do. And it may turn out to be more lucrative for some of these old industries than possible. Let me go back to my friend Eric Cantor. Mr. Cantor, on this issue that Jared Bernstein raised earlier about Republican message, you've had a lot of advice on this. What's going to happen? Who's going to pull this together? I mean, the vote, yesterday were 100 Republicans voted for the Farm Bill. That's the anti-message.
Absolutely, it's the anti-message. And this is why I went to the floor last night after that vote and talked about getting rid of earmarks. I mean, look, one of the things you don't want to talk about taxes. That's the obvious place to go. That'll make us even less competitive in this country versus our international counterparts. But look at the fact of the matter. Is the government spending too much money? There's not a revenue problem here in Washington. It's about spending. And we've got to get that message out. We've got to get the pro-growth agenda out, because if you compare where the two parties are, Charlie Rangel, and the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, he's introduced a bill that'll raise taxes by $3.5 trillion, the largest tax increase in American history.
Yeah, but at least he's a kind of a friend of mine. At least he wants to cut the corporate tax rate. I got to give him some credit for that. I think you can do business with Charlie.
Well, listen, I'm also a friend of Charlie's. He's brought the proposed bringing the corporate rate down to 31%. I've got a bill in to bring it down to 25%. That'll put us right in the middle of the OECD countries. Right now, we are the worst.
And Jared Bernstein, one of the Democrats, your pals, the Democrats, when are they going to come out for a strong dollar? You know, there's a L.A. Times Bloomberg poll that says 76% of the people want a better dollar.
Look, I mean, I think that the problem with the dollar is there's not a lot of policy levers that anybody can pull. I hear this on our show every night. We talk about somebody ought to do something. Do what? The best thing if you want a strong dollar, then the Fed has to pause, which the Fed is probably going to do.
Mr. Cantor, would a strong dollar be part of your reformist message along with tax cuts and earmarks?
Absolutely, Larry. And you've been talking about it for a long time. We've got traders and speculators going long on commodities, short on the dollars. We better start talking about a strong dollar.
Get out of here. Eric Cantor, thank you very much. Brian Gardner, Jerry Bowyer, Greg Valliere, and Jared Bernstein will be right back.